Hey guys, it's Dmitry here, and in this tutorial I'm going to discuss about another really interesting topic, and it's called optional chaining operator. Guys, this particular functionality is quite new to JavaScript, and to be honest with you, even like at work, we're not really using it at the moment. But I just realized that it would be nice to produce a tutorial about this functionality because, to be honest with you, it's quite a nice option, and it potentially can be really helpful, in many cases. And I'm sure, like in the future, it's going to be widely utilized by many developers. Okay, guys, let's jump into that. Let's define an object. I am going to say let person. By the way, guys, you can see I'm using this website, right? It's MDN website, like official Mozilla website, right? And basically, in case of VS Code, it's not always supporting, or it doesn't always support latest JavaScript functionality. So, guys, and obviously, I already checked this out, and it doesn't work. In case of this optional chaining, and I'm sure like I can fix it, but reality is I just found like this website, it has online editor, so, and I just decided, all right, if it's working here, so like at the moment I'm not using this optional chain anyway in VS Code, so I decided just to stick with this website. Okay, let's guys move on. First, I'm going to define a nested object, and inside of this object, inside of our first object, I'm going to say first name, and I'm going to say Dmitry, and I guess let's define another one. Last name, obviously, and key. That's it. So object, right? So it's nested object, nothing special about that, but anyway, it can happen that you can use this kind of object. So guys, and now for example, if I would like to log out this kind of chain, like person dot first and dot first name, right? Come on. So, and let's run it. So obviously it's going to show this value, right, Dmitry? But guys, the tricky part is, like, if, for example, like you're not sure about the structure of this object, right? Or for example, instead of first, you're going to define like second, right? And straight away JavaScript will give you an error, right? Or exception. So, which is not a nice thing, right? To have this kind of exception. Sometimes it can be really confusing, right? Imagine if object is super complicated and it has a lot of nesting things, right? Is going on and so on. So in this case, guys, this kind of operator, like optional chaining operator, can be really helpful. And the way it works, guys, I will show you. So you can do that, right? You just add in this question mark, and let's run it again, and it's going to tell you like it's undefined, right? So obviously it's telling you like this second doesn't exist, right? So that's how it is, guys. And guys, another thing to understand, alternative, well, of course alternative exists, right? You can do it differently, right? In order to do it differently, you can say, by the way, let's do different thing. Let's say first, right? So if you run it now, right, it's going to give you the actual object, right, with first name and last name, right, the first object. But if you say second, it's undefined. It's okay, right? It's undefined, but still, like if you say dot first name, then it's going to give you an exception, right? Which is, again, it happens because two things are like, if this property, or we're trying to look up to like this property through this property, but because this property doesn't exist, JavaScript just become confused, right? Like, why are you trying to look up for the property inside of the scope that doesn't exist, right? It's just confusing. So guys, and another way how you can do this kind of stuff, I mean, you can do you can utilize like multiple ends, for example, right? One of the ways, okay, I will show you. It's like const, let's define let, I guess. Let result equal to if person and person dot first, and okay, let's define second, right? Second. So, and person dot second dot first name, right? Dot first name. I think it should work actually. Hopefully. So guys, it's working, right? But again, the problem is it's so verbose, right? Like, I mean, it's not that bad, but still, like, remember, if I just reverse it, right? Oh, I cannot reverse it here actually. If you just say like person dot second, right, and dot first name, and pretty much it, right? And then you just have to define this question mark. So it's much neater, right? It's much neater way. So I definitely I believe it's a nice, much nicer way, like, you know, to use this operator, optional chain operator, instead of using this verbose stuff. And again, it's not that this object is not that complicated, right? But imagine if you like, if the chain is huge, right? If it's really long, then it can be a nightmare, right? To specify all these, you know, options, or all these ends, right? Like and operators, or operators, whatever kind of operators. It just not the nicest way, right, guys? To implement this kind of stuff. Guys, another way how you can do that, and I guess it's the last one that I'm going to show you, like the alternative one. You can use Trycatch, right? For example, you can say try, and you can specify person dot, again, like, let's just make a mistake, right? Second dot first name, and then catch, and catch error, right? If it's going to be an error, right? And then I'm going to say console.logout, right? If it's going here, if it's going to be an error, then it's going here, and then you can say undefined, something like that. Undefined. And yeah, it also should work, guys. So it's working, right? But again, it's not the nicest way, right, guys? And by the way, let's check if it's really working first, right? So now it should be. So cool, yeah, it's working, right? It's now not giving anything. And if you obviously log it out, it's going to show the actual value, right? Dmitry, yeah. Cool. So guys, it's another alternative, right? But again, this optional chaining operator, I think it's a nice, really nice approach to solving this issue. So that's why, guys, I would recommend you later on, probably not at the moment, because still it's not that supported by, for example, here you can see it's supported by Chrome 80 and so on, right? But beforehand, if you run in Chrome with the previous version, it's most likely it's going to fail, right? If you're going to run this kind of code with optional chaining operator. So guys, that's why you always have to be cautious, right, with all these latest JavaScript technologies, because yeah, they're nice, but the problem is they most likely, some of them, they're not going to be supported by some browsers, right? So that's the issue, guys, obviously. But I'm sure in the future, more and more browsers are going to support this functionality, and we're definitely going to use it, and hopefully we're going to use it, because I love it, guys. I love it. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap up this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, guys, it was really helpful, and it gave you some insight on this new functionality, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.